Will Microsoft finally release some information about the Xbox 720? Find that out today and more on the PCM Tech Help Show. Everybody's talking about Microsoft. Microsoft Windows 8? Yeah, that's what everybody's talking about. No, the Xbox. No, the Windows. No. Oh my God, they're both going to be the same? No way. You've got to be kidding me. Well, that's the rumor in the rumor mill that they're going to be very similar in the way that they function. Hello everyone, my name is Craig Chamberlain and you are watching PCM Tech Talk Live, the live segment of my show dedicated to the community members, my awesome community members at the YouTube channel. The PCM Tech Help Show has been going strong for about 4 years, and thankfully all of you guys are hanging out here with me in the chat room. For those of you who want to become part of the show, you just got to visit the live stream, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday at pcmtechhelp.com/live. Now, if you have not become part of the community, it happens outside of the show. Bunch of great guys over there, and they keep the show going, keep it alive. That's at pcmtechhelp.com/community. And of course, if you follow the actual YouTube page, you will follow all the awesome upcoming main content. We got a lot of good things in the pipeline, guys. Just need you to be a little patient with me. Just got back from vacation. So what I'm going to do is we're changing the format here pretty regularly. We're experimenting with new things. And what I wanted to do today is I'm going to try out a new format where I discuss a topic in the news and I let the community chat room discuss it with me. Because remember, this show was originally dedicated to the subscribers, and I want to kind of get back to that, get back to the roots of why we do the live stream. That's so I can interact with you guys, my awesome community members. Looks like Holy Boy, Compton Sue, Steve Wheeler, Viper, J. Ray, Russell are all here. I believe Tom Prokes is here as well. If he's not, he'll probably be here soon. And the great thing is we got this awesome community of guys who are really interested in tech, who are more than eager to jump at an opportunity to help each other and other people out, no matter what your background in tech might be. Now, the news articles, for those of you guys who are wondering, I use a little app on my iPad called Flipbook. Now, Flipbook is a really cool app, and Flipboard, I'm sorry. It's a really cool little app, and it actually it gives you a whole bunch of stories. Now, what I started doing is I started storing all of the stories that we discuss in each episode live in a magazine, which will be PCM Tech Talk Live magazine. So if you follow me on Flipbook, or if you're in the community, you will receive a link or URL to an actual magazine that was assembled by Flipboard, which will have all the stories discussed in today's news, so you can actually read them and think about it and talk about it. It's pretty cool. Very fun stuff that we got going on here. As I said, today's main story is that Microsoft finally announced that they are going to announce the official release of the Xbox 720. Is this good news for us? This is the question I would ask you guys, my community members. The Xbox 720 is rumored to be online only. Not much of a surprise, since most games are kind of heading in that direction. This goes into another story we're going to talk about later tonight as well. It has a lot to do with content management and statistics gathering, but for the most part, they want to prevent pirating. And that's a way to protect the developers and themselves and their profits, which, if they're not making money, guys, we're not going to be getting games. That's just how it works. But at the end of the day, is it going to actually benefit them or hurt them to make the system exclusively require online gameplay? Very curious. I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say about that in particular. But as I said, they will be announcing this on May 21st. They're having this event. That's according to The Verge. And it's very interesting to see what they're going to do with the Xbox 720 system. All online, I don't think is a deal breaker for many people, but I think will be very concerning for a lot of them, because a lot of us like to be able to play our content offline. So what say you? What say you, my community? Holy Boy says Flipbook, nice. Yes, Flipbook is a great way to kind of share information, so check it out. Flipbook is an app. You have to get the app if you want to be able to use it. Viper says, if the Xbox 720 really needs internet that much, my internet bill will explode. Yes, that would be scary. Now, that brings up an interesting topic. Thankfully, most local internet providers don't require bandwidth or don't have limits on your bandwidth other than, well, they do, but they're really, really high. So you get to the issue now where if they require internet, how much internet are they going to require? For the most part, what I'm understanding is that they're going to require you to maybe install the games off of the disk onto your hard drive. And then you can actually download the content that actually patches the game after that. So that's limited bandwidth use. So I don't really see that, for those of you who have limited network setups, that being much of an issue for you guys, because you really won't have to download a huge chunk of the game unless you're downloading a huge add-on or something like that. Now, one thing that does come nice with these online licenses, such as Steam and now the wonderful EA ecosystem of Origin, is that you can actually, you own the license since it's a floating license, and you can download that license to your console. So that's an interesting, and it's kind of a cool thing that I enjoyed on my Steam. It's one of the things I like about PC gaming, is that I can actually play the game on my computer, and if I lose the discs, it doesn't matter. And it also backs up all of my games to the cloud, so I can also play all my saved games from anywhere. So there's some perks to it as well. So that's one of the things I do like. J-Ray says, online only will frustrate people who have no network, equals no games, equals money spent for no reason. Now, I agree with you on this point as well. It does alienate a huge chunk of their consumer base. Now, especially like the used game market, because I don't think they fully understand that as the system progresses, people rely so heavily, like committed members of these games and stuff, a lot of them rely heavily on the used game market. I mean, we don't have $60 to drop on every game that gets released. So by making it online only and registering your content online, it does eliminate used games. Let me make that very clear to you. That's one market that they want to annihilate, these video game console industries. They want to eliminate the used game markets so that we can't get used games anymore. The floating license, once registered to a console, probably won't be able to be moved. And that's a scary thought, because it's going to be tied to that user's gamer tag. So it effectively eliminates the used game market, which makes it very frustrating for a lot of potential gamers who don't like dropping all that extra money. Basically, they'll own a monopoly on the gaming market, and they'll be able to determine the price curve, because we can no longer have supply and demand where there's a supply of used games. So there's a huge concern there. I would agree with that completely. Very excellent point. Very excellent point there, Jay. And it does get a little scarier the more you think about that. Tom Dog says offline is good. Internet should be an option. I agree completely, but remember, the problem comes down to they're being able to track the people who are playing their games, and it's really more of a personal incentive on their part. I think it might be a big mistake to release an online-only system in this generation. I think they should wait till the next generation of systems, once people have really gotten used to the iCloud and really gotten used to Google Drive, really gotten used to all their licenses being floating licenses. And then once people have really grown accustomed to that format, then you're like, okay, well, let's make it online only. They may be preliminary on their push to make the system an internet-only system. So I agree with you on that, Tom. I don't know if the market's ready for that. It may be received very negatively. Even though Steam has been well received amongst PC people tend to be a lot different personality-wise than console gamers. And so I can see this maybe causing a huge backlash if they decide internet only. Now again, this is all conjecture at this point. We're not going to find out till May 21st of this year whether or not this system is going to be internet only or not. So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. Viper says, what will you do when your internet is gone? Well, it's simple. You simply can't play it, or they do offer the option of offline gameplay for certain licenses. That requires you to grab a license as an offline license, store it locally on your machine, and then you can actually play the game locally on the machine. But only certain games usually support this format, at least according to, this is how it works on Steam. They can also opt to not allow that at all for the games. So you will be limited on what games you're able to have that feature on. Kind of a scary thought as well. Nathan Lloyd says, I wouldn't mind Xbox always online if we didn't have to pay for internet and never cut out and it was fast. Yes, so many ifs. So many ifs, Lloyd. Or it's Loy, Nathan Loy. So many ifs. I know, once you've thrown the internet into the equation, you do create a whole separate dilemma. gaming in general. You just can't really create the same comfort level for gamers that you usually could. It gets ridiculous. Like for SimCity, for example, the latest big disaster with that was they really dropped the bomb on their authentication and download servers for SimCity, and EA took a huge, huge hit for that. So that's kind of a scary thought for those of us who are just like, we just want to play any offline game now. Pretty much, they're all offline. You know, we don't really want to play online. Viper says, Valve should make a Steam console. It would be super nice. They actually do make a Steam console. It's for PC. It's called Steam Console. It's kind of a console. It's more like a Steam box, it's called. Check it out. It says March 25th. Says new console launch, their trend rather than a brand new machine. The idea behind the Steam box is that you can actually just launch Steam and play your computer games on your TV. I don't have an official release date. It looks like it's going to be $1,000. Wow. But it's going to have the PS3's cell processor and things like that. It's going to have a pretty powerful rig. It looks like it'll come in time for the 2013 holiday system. So you may see Steam be a big player in the upcoming market for consoles, especially if you're talking about Xbox suddenly saying online only. So Steam will be like, hey, we've been online only for years, so why don't you just jump on our bandwagon? Of course, that price point isn't as competitive for most gamers, but you will have the full advantage of PC gaming and the power horse that is PC gaming that comes with it. So, but yeah, the Steam box. Keep your eyes out for it. That will be coming out at the end of this year. Viper, Valve should make a Steam. Oh, that was the same one. J-Ray says, but if used games will not be allowed, what will become of EB Games and GameStop? Exactly. These are the actual markets that most of the major companies, most of the major gaming franchises want to eliminate because they are their direct competition. I used to work for EB Games, loved EB Games, worked for them for years. Great company. That was before they turned into GameStop. I've never had any personal experience working for GameStop, so I can't really attest to that. But the great thing about these companies, their business model is all used games. Okay, so you'll walk in there, the first thing they're going to try to do is sell you a used game because their margin of profit for a used game is it. That's where they make all of their money. Eliminating used games from the market will destroy their profit margins. So this is a very scary concept for them. I was having a discussion with another used media store here in locally in town. It was a small business. And I was telling him I just migrated my Blu-ray all the way onto Apple TV. And that stuff scares him because Apple TV means we're not going to buy physical DVDs or any of that used media anymore either. And I was actually selling him my Blu-rays for cash. And so since I use Apple TV now, I have no need for the physical media anymore unless I want to have a physical copy ready to go. And as the demand for that grows, I think they'll come up with an offline solution. But there really isn't a need for one at the moment because those of us who like to do online streaming, we don't really care about the physical media for the most part. We usually have backups of other entertainment to get us by. Holy Boy says, also, I dropped 50 on the new Sims game, reinstalled my machine and lost my game because they said my license was already used. What the? Yeah, these online licenses are going to have to be re-authenticated on different machines and different consoles. Another thing to take into consideration, you have the issue of online authentication, then that license is actually usually registered to a username. Okay, so the user has to log in to get permission to access that game. So that brings in another scary element. What happens if you want to do multiplayer for a game? Well, you'll have one user be the main player, so he probably hosts the license. But what if you want both of them to play the full campaign single player like you were sitting next to each other? Odds are they're going to force us to buy multiple licenses for that game, like they do now. We have to go out and buy another physical copy in a separate console. But that also becomes a possibility with this new shift into the Xbox realm. So it's kind of scary in a lot of ways, but it's also, just really depends on how they approach it. Because Steam did it really well. Steam's been doing it for years, and I've never felt robbed or taken advantage of with the way they handle their licensing. But I can't say that Microsoft is going to handle it the same way that Steam did. So, Holy Boy says, don't lose information for Origin or you are done. I haven't had that personal experience, but Origin is owned by EA, so I'm not surprised. We're going to talk about that here a little bit later tonight. Origin was always kind of a nightmare for people. So I don't know how that's going to work yet. Tom Dog Almighty says, look at the backlash with Windows 8. Now that brings up an interesting point because I wanted to look at this article here that we first are going to discuss. And it actually does say that the characteristics of the Windows 8 environment are going to be heavily emphasized on in the new console. So we understand, this is from The Verge, by the way. That's the article that this is from. It says, we understand that the next generation Xbox software will be based on Windows 8, feeding into Microsoft's strategy of placing Windows at the heart of its products and services. With the Xbox event late in May, alongside E3, a build in June, it's shaping up to be a busy summer for Xbox. Busy, but will it be productive? Windows 8, while not well received, will probably make people a little scared or apprehensive of the console. But don't forget that the Xbox 360 console or dashboard already kind of has a Windows 8-esque environment to it. So I don't think it's going to be that huge of a variation from what the console users are already used to. I think the biggest setback for Windows 8 was more people were used to Windows 7 and Windows XP, and Windows 8 was just such a drastic overhaul all of a sudden. So I think Xbox users will be ready for a Windows 8-esque interface on the 720. I don't know if the negative tone that's been out as a result of Windows 8 not doing well will make people shy away from the 720. Probably won't make me shy away from it because I love the Xbox 360 dashboard. I do. I think it's awesome. So I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen there. So if everything becomes digital, all leaks and early access we get, early publishes and such being other big downloads we do, will become unavailable because everything will be online. People will become MO. Let's see what we got here. Don't lose or okay. I didn't want to skip a question. This was from J Ray K. If everything becomes digital, all leaks and early access we get. Now, leaks and early access. There is one advantage of these online everything platforms is, like for example, on the Apple TV, which is one of my favorite products Apple has actually made. I've talked to my buddy about this in film countless times. It's the most underrated video product, in my opinion, that's out. The Apple TV essentially allows you to download movies that are coming out on Blu-ray a couple days in advance now. They have pre-releases on Blu-ray. So you can actually get early releases at discounted prices from the actual Blu-ray price. People were able to get The Hobbit from $15 to $20 2 days before the movie actually came out on Blu-ray for $20 to $30. So that kind of stuff does kind of make it nicer, because they can create these deals that come along with the streaming and digital media. So there are some advantages that come to that as well. Time will tell whether the pros will outweigh the cons, and that really comes down to what company's managing it. Viper says, I hate you, Microsoft. Remember, this is all conjecture at this point. Don't take everything I say word for word. We don't know for a fact if this is how they're going to do it. We're discussing the possibility and what it will mean for them. I think it might be a mistake in this generation of consoles to go online only, but we will see. There's more bad news, by the way, on this whole Xbox thing. Just stay tuned here for a little longer. There's a little bit more bad news here that kind of scares me too. J-Ray says people will become more used to the net. That's true. Tom Prook says, I'm glad I don't don't online game. So it's very hard not to anymore, Tom. Viper says, I'm staying with Steam. I love you, Steam. I love Steam too. You're not making a bad choice there. Holy Boy says, Flipbook not free on my Mini. Ooh, ouch. That sucks. Wish I could help you out there. Viper says, see, the Windows 8 interface is awesome on the Xbox and tablets, but absolutely sucks on desktops. Very common. I agree with you there. Craftgeek says, hello, Craig. I've returned, as I said on Skype. Welcome back. Viper says hello, and Craftgeek says, hey. Okay, now let's get on to the next section of this this Xbox 360 story I wanted to kind of cover today. Appreciate all your guys' feedback. It's always fun interacting with you guys. Now, this is the second story related to this Xbox. Microsoft's next Xbox is said to shift to the x86, which is 32-bit architecture, courtesy of AMD System on a Chip. Now, this is good news for AMD, who's been trying to really catch up with Intel pretty much owning the market with processors right now. But the Microsoft Xbox is going to be 32-bit or x86 exclusive. That's actually very good, guys. This isn't a scary thing. Remember, 64-bit is still in development. Not a very good idea to all of a sudden launch a console with 64-bit because consoles rely heavily on rapid development and system stability. So I think 32-bit is a good move. I think the x86 is a great idea. Now the downside is this x86 architecture they're going with does not support, I repeat, it does not directly support the old Xbox 360 architecture, which means that the games do not migrate directly to the new console. So I'll say that again. Because of the new processor architecture in the 720, theoretically it will not support Xbox 360 games. Again, this is conjecture, because just because it doesn't support it natively doesn't mean that Microsoft can't create a virtualized environment that will support all the previous Xbox games. So once again, that onus is up to Xbox. But given their track record, again with PlayStations as well, I don't see them doing it, which I think is a huge mistake. The Xbox 360 console is one of the most popular systems in the world, and it's been out for, what, 8 years? We have a huge collection and library of games that if you suddenly came out with a system and said, yes, it will support all of your library of games, you instantly have a huge chunk of that market going out and buying your system. It's a no-brainer. If they announce the day on May 12th, if they say we are going to release the Xbox 720, that's the details, and it will support your previous Xbox 360 games, I will be standing in line to buy an Xbox 720 because I know I can get rid of my old console while it's still worth something. I can buy the new console and play all my original games on it at the faster speeds, faster load times. Come on. So I hope to God when you guys announce this on May 12th that we will get the emulation like we always want. You listening, Microsoft? We want our emulation. That goes with you, PlayStation, as well. We want our emulation. Stop alienating our libraries of games that we've invested thousands of dollars in over the years and just suck it up, boys. You're not making that much money off the arcade. You're going to get a lot more console sales and a lot more consumer loyalty if you just take that one step of emulating your old system. So I'm really curious what you guys think about that in particular, because that's the part that's kind of like going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people, I think. If they actually announce the fact that, no, we're not going to support Xbox 360 games, would you buy it today? Those watching now, would you buy the new Xbox if it did not support your old games? Would you buy it? Viper's asking a question that, hey Viper, post this question in the show questions at the bottom. He asked if he can replace a Core i5 with an i7 without killing his PC. Post that in the question below. I'm going to get that question and answer segment. Craftkick says AMD is going to be rich since it's making it for the PS3 and Xbox 720. Very true. It is. Yeah, they're banking on the console market right now. Viper cracked his home premium to Ultimate. Craftkick asks if he minds if I post a link to the related article in the Xbox 720. Of course, yeah, you can post any links. That's fine, as long as they're related to the story. Oh, geez, Microsoft, you screwed up this time. Fix it now. Well, we don't know for sure if they're doing it. This is like Sega Genesis to the Saturn. Can't go backwards compatibility because the cartridge does not fit and the architecture is not the same. Very frustrating. I know, it's very frustrating, and you really have to have a solid selling point if you're going to do that. Because if you go, okay, we don't support Xbox 360 games, and then you go, oh, by the way, you also have to be online all the time to play our system, how many people are they going to alienate immediately out of the box? So we'll see how that goes. Nathan White says, is this stream not on YouTube? It is not, Nathan. We had to move away from YouTube live streaming because they didn't support higher quality. It was only 360p. Very unfortunate. J-Ray says, we can emulate PSP on Android pretty fine. We can, and these emulators are not difficult to release. Microsoft is going to try to come out and say, if they do not support, remember, this is a big if they do not support Xbox 360 games, they're going to make this huge case that they just didn't have the resources, or the emulation wasn't solid enough or reliable enough. They're going to try to make this huge selling point for people that we could not do it. It just wasn't possible. We couldn't deliver the same quality of gaming experience without making you buy the game again on the Xbox Live Arcade. That's going to be their big selling point on that. I've seen it happen a million times before. So, interesting. Steve Lewis says, I would not buy any console that is not backwards compatible. That's the one thing that Nintendo has been doing a great job with. Unfortunately, Nintendo hasn't done a good job of making their current games any different than their previous games, which I'm a huge Nintendo fan. I was for the longest time. Don't even talk to me about the Wii or the Wii U. Tom Pro, sir, things change. Keep both machines. x86 would be nice. And it won't let you post links. Go ahead and post links at the community page. Remember, guys, that's at pcmtechhelp.com/community. If you're just now joining us, remember, I'm going to be reading an article, then we're going to move on to the next article and discuss it after every article. So that's it. That's it for Microsoft Xbox 720. Okay, we're going to find out for sure on May 21st. May 21st. It was pushed back. Originally, they were going to announce it this month. We're going to find out for sure what Microsoft has planned for our futures as to whether we're going to be happy or not with the outcome. So I don't know what to do about that just yet, but we will find out here soon. Now, the next topic I want to talk about is EA. Everybody loves EA, Electronic Arts. The executive responds to the worst company poll ever. We owe gamers better performance, he says, but this is a typical EA response. We owe gamers a better performance if they weren't so stupid and ignorant. Because let me read in a little bit of detail what the EA owner said in response to them officially the second year in a row, by the way, winning worst company of the year. Are we really the worst company in America? I got to read this whole thing, guys. Sorry, I have to read this whole thing. Are we really the worst company in America? I'll be the first to admit that we've made plenty of mistakes. This includes server shutdowns too early, games that didn't meet expectations, missteps on new pricing models, and most recently, severely fumbled the launch of SimCity. We owe gamers better performance than this. Do you hear the but? But some of these complaints are 100% legitimate. Like all large companies, we are not perfect. But others just don't hold water. Many continue to claim the always-on function in SimCity is a DRM scheme. By the way, that's a licensing scheme. It's not. People still want to argue about it. We can't be any clearer. It's not. Period. In other words, he's saying, we didn't make SimCity online only just so we could verify licenses. Well, tell me, Mr. President, Mr. CEO, that's the only reason to make a game online only. There's no other reason to do it. Unless it's an MMO. Sorry, SimCity is not an MMO. Let me check. No, pretty sure it's not. Still pretty sure it's not. Some claim there's no room for Origin as a competitor to Steam. 45 million registered users are proving that wrong. Well, it's easy to get 45 million registered users, Mr. President, if you force people to register to play their games, which you have with every game you've released since Mass Effect 2, by the way. I'm not a big fan of EA. Can you guys tell? Can you tell? Can you tell? Some people think that free-to-play games and microtransactions are a pox on gaming. Tens of millions more are playing and loving those games. Okay, I actually agree with them on that. I don't think there's anything wrong with microtransactions and transactions in online free games. I think that's cool. All right, I'll give you that one. We've seen mailing lists that direct people to vote for EA because they disagree with the choice of the cover athlete on Madden NFL. Yes, really. Okay, I would like to see the percentage that's included in the millions of people who voted you worst customer of the year as to how many of them were like, they chose a crappy athlete for Madden. Not cool. In the past year, we've received thousands of emails and postcards protesting against EA for allowing players to create lesbian, gay, bi, and transsexual characters in our games. This week, we are seeing posts in conservative websites urging people to protest our LGBT policy by voting EA the worst company in America. Okay, for those of you who have never taken philosophy or any kind of argument classes, this is called a straw man argument. He's basically niching all the people in these minor groups, these fringe groups, that are obviously not making a valid argument against him, and saying that this is everybody on the internet. This is why we lost. So everybody falls into this category, that according to the EA. Is it any wonder why this company is so detached from the gaming world? Is it any wonder? If this is the mindset of the guy who runs the place, he's like, sure, yeah, we've made mistakes, but you guys are all stupid. I mean, that's really been their response every time they've been called out on an issue, Mass Effect 3, and they've just vehemently pounded into it over and over again. You just don't get it. We know what we're doing, and that's just how they roll. And it's unfortunate. EA takes let me explain how EA works. They don't make all bad games, okay? But the franchise thrives on the exploitation of good franchises. So the company thrives on the exploitation of good franchises. So they take a concept, say The Sims, brilliant concept, buy the company, buy the concept, exploit it till Sims 3 and millions of expansion packs. So they take a concept like Madden, okay? Buy it, release a game every year, it's the exact same game, a little bit better graphics, exploit the market. Then they release a game like Mass Effect, which is a great company by BioWare. They buy it, then they exploit it, then they exploit it further once Mass Effect 3 comes out. And this has happened across just about every single one of their franchises. Everything they do now is a sequel, unless they've bought original content from a third party and then proceeded to make sequels of their original content. That's the business model of EA, in a nutshell. So while I like some of the games they release, they're not their games. They are third-party games in which they acquired because they have a lot of buying power. So I don't have a lot of mercy for them losing. I don't have a lot of mercy for them being worst company of the year. I can see why that's happening. So, sorry, I kind of went on a little bit of a tirade there. Looks like a lot of people are talking about it over here, but that's always a good thing. That's why you guys are here. Nathan Lloyd says, I've seen YouTube streams that are 720. Maybe I need to recheck that, Nathan, but typically you can't stream in full HD from Google Hangouts unless I've missed something. If you haven't noticed, Microsoft spams Bing in every product. Microsoft Word on their site. They're really trying to push Bing. I don't think it's really working that well for them, but, you know, gotta let them try. Your thoughts on the end support date for Microsoft XP? Not surprised. They've been announcing end support dates for XP for quite some time. They'll keep pushing it back. J-Ray, why did GeoCities die? Many schools were using those to learn how to make a website. Just didn't have any user base anymore. And there's like blogs and Blogger now, and that's just a huge part of it. Microsoft is going to get hate like EA. Then they'll die. Well, that's what Viper says. I think Linux Ubuntu is uprising. I think it's definitely an interesting dynamic, at least because the internet allows us the freedom to complain about these companies. And while I had a lot of hope for EA, and you can just ask my buddy, our director, Mr. Chris Keyworth, we've discussed this a number of times. And when BioWare first got bought up by EA, we had a lot of hopes because it was BioWare with a budget. And all they have to do is let them do what they do. Don't touch them. Leave them alone. Just throw money at them. They ask for money, write them a check. That's all you got to do. This company's been making great games for 15 years. Right? But no, they had to get involved. They had to start marketing it their way. They had to start having producers come in and change the infrastructure. They had to start sending their talent to other divisions because other divisions needed their talent, and it just became a huge nightmare. So I had a lot of hopes. Viper says, but EA made Battlefield, did they? I'm going to look that one up. EA is the worst company, says S Nintendog. EA made good games, but they're too greedy about them. Well, forget EA. I got Uncharted. Yes! Uncharted is awesome. Please, Valve, count to 3. Love Valve. Great company. Bing is eh. Bing sucks. Enough said. Okay, let's move on to the next story. We've talked enough about EA. I've gone enough on my tirade. Now, this is more of a fun story. I like this one. Because, we're way over our time tonight, by the way. I was supposed to go till 9:30. So I'm going to be dragging you guys out the rest of the night. Automatic do not disturb measures your brain waves to know when you're busy. I'm going to say that again. Your phone, there's an app for that, it's not released yet, but there's a headset that's out now. And this company, this neurosurgeons, created an app that can measure your brain waves to know when your brain is being active or busy. And when your brain is active or busy, your phone goes into away. Now, this is kind of a cool idea because, all these technologies start in concept, It's like you never really think they're going to take off, or you never really know how they're going to take off because, obviously now it's kind of ridiculous. You have to have something on your head in order to detect it. But think about it. All the wearable tech that's coming out this year, Google Glasses, there's talk about the watch, and there's talk about all this other stuff. Well, who's to say that this technology can't be integrated into the glasses as well to detect your brain activity while you're watching a movie, reading a book, working? And the idea behind this was that it would actually scan your brainwaves. It's got a cool little screen on it. This is called Italian-born neuroscientist Ruggiero Sorcioni has developed a new technology that will help you get stuff done by deflecting phone calls or other notifications away when you're busy by scanning your brainwaves. Anybody seen Brain Scan? It's the first thing I thought of. That or Lawnmower Man. Brain Scan or Lawnmower Man. Whew. That's scary. Craftcake says, I thought the entire show was fun. Craig, you should get one. That would be awesome. I just like put like a huge, I want it to look like a Doc on Back to the Future. I want that big, huge, like circular one. I want it to be that huge. Walk around with it on every episode. I'll be like, no, I'm busy. Hopefully it processed that. Could do something like that. Kind of a cool idea. I don't know if they're going to actually do anything with it, but that was a cool little story I came across. But this is a non-surprising story. We'll move into this one. PC sales shrink. Tablets and phones dominate in 4-year tech forecast. PC sales shrink. Tablets and phones dominate in the 4-year tech forecast. For those of you who've been paying attention, we talk about that all the time on this show. I'm huge on talking about what technology is going out the door. And one of them that's going out the door, I hate to say it, is the desktop PC for most users. Oh, I know you guys were about to jump on me. For most users. Because if you think about it, desktop PCs really only fill a specific need. Whereas mobile devices, tablets, phones, fill the majority of people's needs who are just looking for an easy device to manage their schedules, get on the internet, do their Facebook, do their email, do anything, just your basic daily needs. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that's all they use their desktop for. As soon as they have it on their phone or their iPad, which, by the way, another article coming up, iPad prices dropped. As soon as they have them on those devices, why buy a PC? They're big, you gotta have a desk, they're clunky, you gotta have a keyboard, you gotta wait for it to boot up, you gotta sit there and log in, you gotta do all this other stuff, you got Windows 8 staring you in the face. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons now why people would just move away. So this is true. PC sales are shrinking, and as you might expect, there's good news for any company in the business of building tablets and mobile phones, and lousy news for those building PCs. Worldwide sales of devices, PCs, tablets, mobile phones, and ultramobiles will approach combined 3 billion units by 2017. This is an article from the Wall Street Journal, and many of them are going to be tablets and phones. You're going to see the PC market continue to shrink. That's why you see companies like Steam getting involved in consoles. All this is connected, people. Just got to pay attention. Connect the dots. Very connected. So I'm not saying that desktops are bad, because somebody just asked here, S Nintendog said, this news is killing, Viper says, this news is killing me. Nah, tablets. Everything's so mad. Whew, my bad. I think detecting your brain is too much control. I draw the line when they're messing with my brain. Well, hopefully they won't mess with it. They'll just read from it, but we'll see how it goes. S Nintendog says, Viper says, I still like desktops. I still like them too. I think there's a great use for them. There will always be use for them in office environments, for gaming, for development, for filming and editing, anything that requires a powerhouse machine. But even then, those are kind of migrating to central supercomputing and virtual computing, where they're actually taking away the workstation hardware requirements, and all the processing is done at a single centralized location. And so really, just your dumb consoles are getting weaker and weaker. There's not as much of a market for those either. So I'm curious how that's going to all pan out. S Nintendo says, what about super gamers? There will always be a market for super gamers. Don't hesitate. Don't worry about that. Viper says, yeah, Windows 8, Windows 8 a reason. Yeah, that is one reason. Windows 8's a reason people are moving away from desktops. I agree with that. J-Ray says, live stream keeps cycling through resolutions. Why? When I choose one, I can't stay there. I choose it. Freedom of speech. Very entertaining. Good one, Jay. I don't know why. Craftkick, are you using a tablet? Guilty as charged. I have one right here. I also have a laptop, though. Whoa there. I don't have a desktop. That's kind of scary. Compton Sue says, desktop will not go away for business. I agree, but I do think that they will isolate the workstations from the centralized processing in the future. I think it's going to become more of a distributed computing environment, and it's already started to become more of a distributed computing environment. If you walk into most bigger businesses, they don't actually, their workstations are dumb workstations. They're not very processor intensive. They have a lot of the processing being done on the server side or through some centralized distribution channel, which, again, that's not really desktop sales. That's That's still server sales. That's big-time business stuff. So, desktop will not go away for business. Agree with that. Tom Proke says, I prefer Android over Windows 8 any day. Kind of an unfair comparison. Android's a mobile platform. J Ray says, stupid cycle option. Useless. Okay. Ice cream sandwich is yummy, says S10 Dog. A user. And that's the story for mobile. But don't forget, there's also some more fun tech. I'm a sucker for fun technology because we also have, check this out. You guys are awesome. Thanks for staying tuned to the show. I may lose you on this one. Toothbrush 3.0, an app for your mouth. Did I lose you? I just lost one. I watched one viewer. They're like, no, gone. Never coming back here again. Toothbrush 3.0, an app for your mouth. That's right, an app that actually has a little sensor inside, a Bluetooth sensor inside of the toothbrush, and it detects how many brushes you make, how rigorously you brush, and how long you brush for. Tracks them on a little trending graph, and it'll actually give you little awards and achievements based upon your brushing patterns. Whew. I love it. I love stuff like this, guys. I'm a sucker for this guy. It's like, who think, you know what we need? Bluetooth toothbrush that will help people track their teeth brushing. I mean, why not? Dentists will freaking eat this stuff up. Actually, this seems kind of practical for making sure your kids are brushing their teeth. Let me see the app. Nope, let me see the app. I don't believe you. They're going to be paying their brother and sister to brush their teeth for them in the morning so that they can get the sensor, or they'll just be rubbing it up against a wall. Or you're rubbing up against the wall. It's like, whoa, you brushed your teeth for 45 minutes today. Holy cow. That's insane. So anyways, I'm a sucker for stories like that. We won't spend too much time on that because I just... Oh, that's good. Everyone's like, oh, I give up. I knew you guys would love that one. That's why I threw it in there. I had to throw something in there. Chart of the day. Chart of the day. Okay, if this is from Business Insider. Chart of the day. 82% of people, is this a surprise to you guys? 82% of people, you're going to be surprised, say they don't want a Facebook phone. 82%. 15 of those extra on top of that say they need to know more. 3% of people say, yes, Facebook phone me, I want it. All the more reason why Facebook made a good decision in not making a phone. So this news is kind of useless. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Facebook obviously did their own polling data here. Good reason to not make a phone, Facebook. Applaud that effort. So I'm thinking that their idea to create a new user overlay might be a good idea, but if 82% of people aren't even interested in a phone by any means, I have to believe that 82% might also not be any idea remotely interested in an overlay. But it's a numbers game. 82% of what? A billion? But even if you get 5% of that market, it's a lot. Wow, that's a lot. But we're talking, of course, about Facebook, what's it called? Facebook Home. Facebook Home is the app that they're going to release. It's a complete overlay of your phone. Basically, it hijacks Android, takes it over, wipes out your UI, doesn't wipe it out, hides it, and it replaces it with the Facebook UI, which is superior in all ways. And then you get personal messages from all of the members of Facebook. Every time you're in an app, get this, every time you're in an app, there's little pop-ups if you get a message from somebody on Facebook. So awesome. I've got to have this app because the worst thing about Facebook is when I'm in another app, not in my Facebook app, and I'm in another app, and somebody messages me, and that little pop-up notification at the top of my Apple phone doesn't come up in time, instantly, and I got to exit that app, and I've got to go all the way back to my Facebook app, and then I've got to check to see if anybody messaged me. It's the worst thing in the entire world. What would we do without this technology, people? I'm overly sarcastic tonight. I hope I'm not pissing people off. There will be a demand for the Facebook phone. It's not a bad idea. I still have to give them lots of credit for this idea. They essentially said, no, you know what? There's no market for a Facebook phone. We're not going to make a Facebook phone. But what we will do is take over people's Android phones who want them to take over. See, now people are more likely to try it out and then uninstall it. That's a much better business model for Facebook. I actually think that's a brilliant plan. It really is. Google was right. It's a testimony to how open the Android operating system is. It's very cool to see that a developer can create its own operating system overlay. So I'll be very curious to see how it pans out. But these numbers don't look good at first. So there's going to be a lot of convincing that needs to take place. So, very interesting. What do you guys think about the Facebook phone? Are you going to buy it? Would you buy a Facebook phone? I'm sure you wouldn't. That's a stupid question. Would you try Facebook Home since it doesn't have, you don't have to, you can uninstall it? Would you try it? Or would you be afraid to try it? I'd be curious about that. Facebook Desktop, garbage. Oh, I remember Facebook Desktop. Wow, that's pretty crazy. I haven't heard about that one in a while. It's Face Off, not Facebook. Yeah, it's true. Facebook Home Kill-A-Phones. Oh, Facebook Home Kill-A-Phone. I like it. It's kind of interesting. I think I just got Skyped. Kind of felt dirty. Oh, it's from CraftKick. Here's a link you want to show you. CraftKick, post those. Thanks for messaging me, CraftKick. Post these, not in the chat room, just post them right at the community page. I can't really follow up with it here. Ayub Meluk says, will we be able to buy the Xbox 720 soon? I'm not sure. I'm guessing fourth quarter of this year. But remember, as we said earlier in this show, that the May 21st announcement will tell us everything we need to know about the Xbox 720. All we can talk about here is conjecture at this point. We won't know for sure until the May 21st announcement. So thanks for stopping by, Ayub. Hope you enjoyed it. CraftKick says yes. Instant Dog says nope. Just to say, I hate smart boards. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those either. My teacher calls towers CPUs, and then I get pissed off. Off subject, Tower, but thank you for sharing. Dog would never use a Facebook phone. Oh yeah, I deleted System 32 on a school computer. Oops, and filled up another computer's hard drive with 250 gigabyte file. That's mean. Tom Prokes, I uninstalled Facebook on my PC. Can you do that? Can you do that? Stop Skyping me, people. That's kind of funny. That's right, I receive Skypes while I'm on live air. It's like, hang on a second. Hang on, I got a notification. Hang on, this show's gonna go on for another 4 hours. Okay, whoa, we gotta keep going, okay? iPhone market share continues to increase according to the latest ComScore reports. I know, guys, I know. Every article I talk about, you guys seem to think it's pro-Apple, but this is the news, all right? It's the news. iPhone market share is continuing to grow, despite the fact that the Samsung Galaxy S3 is so awesome. Does this mean that the iPhone's still doing awesome and amazing? No. Does it mean that iPhone will always own the phone market? No. Does this mean that anything? Does this really mean anything at this point? No. Because really, we are in the shifting stages of the mobile market in which iPhones now have solid competition on a very severe level. That's why this next article I'm going to talk to you about is so important. They've finally announced price cuts to the iPads, which means they're going to be announcing a new generation of iPads. But the next big announcement we need to hear from them is the new iPhone. Is this going to wow us? And what are they going to do with this to make up for the Samsung Galaxy S4, which is going to be awesome? Okay? So while they are still rising in the market share compared to the other people, because the iPhone 5 did really well, we really need to see what's going to happen because now the iPhone 5 has some real solid competition. With the Galaxy S4 coming out, things are starting to look kind of grim unless Apple steps up their game. Now, I'm one of those people who thinks about Apple as this company who doesn't react to the market. They anticipate the market. I believe they've got the new iPhone already planned out. I think they've already known that they were going to have this competition, and I think that they are going to have something that's reasonable in the pipeline. I think they're going to have something that's a wow product. That's been their business model for how many years? 20, 30 years? But only time will tell. So we'll see how that goes. But are you guys interested in another iPhone? What would it take to get you guys to buy an iPhone at this point? Because those Samsung Galaxies are looking so sweet. They're looking so sweet right now. And a lot of them Android phones out there are really solid. It's a hard competition out there in the phone market. Great for us. Great for us consumers. But to be honest with you, the iPhone 5 starts to look dated now. So we're going to see how this goes in the future. I still think the iPhone 5 is a very awesome phone. I use it, obviously. I'm using it now. I don't regret using it. I use it all the time. But I'm curious to see where the future of the mobile market's going to go, because they can't win if the iPhone 5 is just like the iPhone 4S or the iPhone 5S is just like the iPhone 5. It's not going to work this time. So we'll see how it goes. Viper says, they didn't make up the iPhone 5. iPhone 5 sucked. Hey, I like my iPhone 5. Graphic says, it's the same thing over and over again besides the size and a new iOS. Some say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But here's the thing. There's always got to be some selling point other than the iOS and the basic phone. There's got to be some kind of a wow factor. The Retina, the bigger screen size, that's chump change. We need something a little different. We need some more variation off of that. So I'm really curious to see if they have anything for the iPhone 6. But it seems to be right now over and over again. That's what people are, that's been kind of the marketing mantra against Apple. And it's very expensive still. Everyone's saying analogies for iPhone in the community chat room. Viper wants to know what's wrong with him. Community, feel free to elaborate. J. Ray K said, it would take more liberty in iOS for me to buy one. Yes, it's a very locked down operating system, but it is very stable at the same time. And so, you know, I love it, but I don't. I like flexibility myself. So, very interesting. And we're almost done here. While price cuts for the iPad, for those of you looking into the market of the iPad, here's my iPad with Retina display. They do actually, there's no sense in getting an Android tablet. I know people are going to yell at me for this. I think that the benefits of the iPad at the price point they're at right now are just way too substantial to consider the competition at the moment. Android's getting there, but I still think they're about a year behind where they need to be. But the iPhone 3rd generation, that's before the Retina, but after the iPad 2, the invisible iPad that most people didn't even notice came out. It's essentially the iPad 2, but with 4G LTE compatibility. Was just price dropped, and it's for sale at Best Buy for $314, the 16 gigabyte model. So you can get an iPad 3 with 4G LTE for $315. Well, no, not with 4G LTE. That's just the Wi-Fi only. For $315, you'll add about $100 for that if you want the LTE. So $415 for the LTE. But $315 for the 3rd generation iPad now on Wi-Fi only. They've even dropped the price of the Retina display one, which is the 4th generation iPad. And that one's about $450. For Wi-Fi only, and about $550 for Wi-Fi and 3G. No, wait, maybe it's 400 and 500, around there. It doesn't really say on here. It says you can get a 64 gigabyte Retina one for $545.99. So prices have dropped. That means that they're getting rid of inventory of the old 3rd generation iPads. Once those get out, then they're going to announce the new iPad, which hopefully won't have these big black bars on the outside that are hideous. So I'm hoping they adopt more of the iPad mini style with the sidebars being more screen and come up with something else a little more clever. Maybe some better hardware. Who knows? Bigger screen, different screen. Who knows? So more price. And I'm freaking you guys out because I'm talking about Mac stuff today. It's driving you guys crazy, isn't it? Viper's freaking out anyway. S Nintendo says, Android tablet is still cheaper than iPad with iPad price drops. True, but I don't think Android tablets have the stability or app availability near as close, not even near as close to the Apple market right now. For the phones, completely different story. The Android phones and the iOS phones, they're pretty much neck and neck now. In fact, there's a lot of things on the Android phone that are better than the Apple phone now. A lot of things. Google Maps. But, I mean, there's a lot of things going on with the phone market that's really solid for Android. Android tablets are still gaining on the iPad, but I just don't think that they're there yet. I don't think it's worth the money unless there's only a couple apps that you need for that iPad. So, Craig.exe is not a valid Win32 application. Good thing I'm running 64-bit. JRayK says, again, JXD, S18, $40, how does the market not care for this? Why is it not big breakthrough? I don't know what that is. Asus Transformer at $249 plus keyboard charging dock. Yep, Transformers are pretty solid, but they're not as good. But they are solid. They are solid devices, depending on what you're going to do with it. Viper says, yeah. Craftkick says, I'm on a Mac right now. Good, I'm not freaking you out. J. Ray K says, I mean $40 for a 4.03 Android and 4.3-inch screen, more than enough for the average user. Correct. There's a lot of amazing cost-effective phones out there right now for the Android market that are going to get the operating system in many people's hands. That's the advantage of having all this competition for devices in the open platform Android world, is that there's a huge price range of these apps that makes it available to like just about everybody. I'm on doors, Viper says. Pwned. SN10 Dog, more storage options. True. Viper, Craig.exe is not a valid Win64 application. Well, now you're just being silly. Do we have anything else here? Because we're running out of time. Yes. Wow. Today was an Apple day. I'm sorry about that, guys. Remember, you can read all the stories that we talked about in today's episode at the community page. It's all on Flipboard. You got your own magazine now, PCM Tech Help Show magazine, which covers all the stories. You can go to the community page at pcmtechhelp.com/community and check out the magazine there. Also, this video will be available full HD quality at YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, pcmtechhelp.com/YouTube, and start sharing, guys. That's how we keep growing. And man, we're getting big now. We got a lot of really good things in the pipeline I'm really excited about. So make sure you subscribe and keep staying tuned. Appreciate all your help. For labels, Apple's iRadio deal could be sweeter than Pandora. iRadio. Sorry, guys. It's a Mac day, I guess. That just ended up how it ended up falling. That's how the chips fell. The iRadio is essentially a Pandora equivalent of online radio, but hosted by Apple. Now, I'm kind of excited about this prospect, mostly because of the buying power of Apple. They're able to negotiate better rates for real songs and real music than their competitors. I'm not excited about this because it's just another big monster in the online streaming business, and I'm afraid that it's going to kind of squash the competition, which always freaks me out in these kind of situations. But the iRadio is kind of an exciting prospect because it'll integrate with all of your iDevices, your Mac, your phone, your tablet, your iPad, and your Apple TV. And the idea is that you can actually pay a straight license for the radio station per year, and you can actually listen to streaming music on the radio rather than paying for songs individually through iTunes. And so it'll give you a little bit more flexibility on your libraries. I don't know if you guys are a fan or not of Pandora. If you haven't checked out Pandora, it's awesome. It's got a free version. It's an internet radio, streaming radio. It's not available in all countries. Sorry about that, but check it out. Pandora Radio. Google it. And they have an awesome system for streaming music. You basically choose a band, and it builds a custom radio station around that band. And then you start liking and disliking songs, and then add different bands to that station, and it builds like a personal, they call it the genetic music radio station. So you have like a genetic radio station just for you. And it's really cool. I mean, if you've never used Pandora, you got to try it out. It's awesome. Have you guys in the community ever used Pandora Radio? What are your thoughts? And how long have you used it for? It uses a lot. They have a lot more ads now than they used to. Kind of disappointing, but that's the way it is. And the prices went up a little bit, which I was pretty disappointed about. But overall, it's still a great product. I enjoy it a lot. Craftkick says, I use it. S Nintendo says Pandora is good. S Nintendo says Last.fm is okay. I agree. I think they're just okay. J-Ray says more cost-effective Android x86 for your laptop or desktop. There you go. Put Android on your desktop. Ayub says, what about smart TVs? Don't we watch often? Smart TVs would be a great addition for a lot of these streaming services. Apple is diligently working, from what I understand, on an official Apple TV, not a TV box that plugs into your TV, but an Apple TV, where you actually buy the television. And it will have integrated all the Apple products into that one television as well. If it works anything like the Apple TV and it has very similar resolution quality as their Macs, I won't be surprised if it does well. The problem is going to be the price point. They're not historically very good at setting prices that are competitive on any level whatsoever. But smart TVs are awesome in that context. So I like the idea of smart TVs because it gets more people watching YouTube, which is where I'm at. That's where my live show is. That's where I broadcast from. And so I'm always excited about everybody moving to the internet for all their media. And so I'm always like, yes. No, get rid of Comcast. Stream only. Get an Apple TV, get the YouTube app, subscribe to my channel, watch me every day. That's what you got to do. But Apple TV I love. I love that product. S10Dog says, Apple TV. And Viper says, thumbs up, best video ever. And it looks like Russell Adams says, Spotify works for me. Kraftkick says he uses Pandora each day when he's on the bus to school. And it looks like we are done for today. I want to thank you guys all for coming out tonight. It was an awesome episode. I had a great time. I really liked it because I got to interact with you guys a little more. And that's my ultimate goal for the live show, guys. Sorry I haven't been interacting with you as much. I got a little bit of experimentation going on, and I decided, you know what? I need to get these guys involved more. They're the show. You guys are the live show. Remember to subscribe at PCMTechHelp.com/YouTube. Join the community where all the after party stuff hangs out. We're like, woo, after party at PCMTechHelp.com/community. And also make sure you can watch all these live streams Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's supposed to be 9:30, but we went an hour today. At PCMTechHelp.com/live. I also have tons of free downloads. PCMTechHelp.com/live. Don't forget, you got to come to the after party. Woo! All right. All right, woo! Woo! All right.